Hi, everyone. Greetings, and good evening, and welcome to the Tabia Pope Show. I am your host, Tabia Pope. I am a certified speech language pathologist, as well as known in the corporate world as a speech and image consultant. The Tabia Pope Show is an image management talk show focused on educating and empowering viewers to enhance their communication skills, image, and lifestyle. The show focuses on the science and art of really how to create your authentic personal brand and manage your professional image. The show aims to be the catalyst for personal and professional transformations. And when watching the Tabia Pope Show, I want my viewers to really come with the expectation of reflecting on your own brand. So some of the discussion questions I have for this evening are, what skills do you need to enhance? Whether it be presentation skills, communication style, your dialect modification, or is it your wardrobe? You want a wardrobe enhancement. You're looking for personal shopping assistance and confidence building. And also your networking and conversational skills will take you a long way. So I want you to think about, what skills do you need to enhance? And how do you manage your image? And how is your image impacting your personal and professional success? This evening, I'm going behind the brand with Ean Garrett. He is the Chief Innovation Officer of Infinite8Institute.com. Hi, Ian. Thank you so much for being on the show this evening.
Thanks to be here. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, I just want to let all of our viewers know that if you do want to be featured as a personal brand, please email me via media@tobeapopeshow.com, or you can connect with me on social media @tobeapopeshow. So I just want to give a little bit an introduction to the Behind the Brand segment. I go behind the brand, and I interview personal brands that use their success to mentor, whether it be upcoming professionals that are transitioning back into the workforce or transitioning careers, as well as professionals that are looking to really become entrepreneurs and kind of making their way out of corporate America and into the world of entrepreneurship. So thank you so much, Ian, because I think you're an excellent guest to go behind the scene and give our viewers a little bit of taste of what entrepreneurship really is about. So first, let's just start off. Ian, can you tell our viewers a little bit about your story? I put your bio on our Google Plus event page as well as YouTube, but can you just give us a little bit about your story and how you went from, from your younger years of trying to figure out what it was that you really wanted to do with your life, and to now being a successful personal brand, having your own business. So give us a little bit about your story.
So thanks to be originally I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and Omaha, Nebraska has been known, especially recently, for the violence and other things that are essentially affecting our community. And so I grew up in a very violent environment, very impoverished environment. My father was taken away from me at the age of 4. You know, he was taken away as a victim to gun violence, and so I was there. I actually was able to see it, and so that really did I view the world. But my father was an entrepreneur. He was an attorney, and so I was able to see how important it was to be able to own your own business. You know, even though my father wasn't there for the vast majority of my life, I do remember when I was little, and he actually brought me into his office, and I knew what it felt like to actually be in an office and to see a Black man, particularly in that position. And so I understood from a very early age that I could accomplish that. And so I was blessed from that perspective. Even though my father was only there for a short amount of years, he instilled, just through, unknowingly, he instilled the attitude and the concept of, really owning your own business and really being able to determine your own destiny. And so I became involved in mentoring. At the age of 15, I became the national spokesperson for the National Mentoring Partnership. And it exposed me to a wide variety of lifestyles, of individuals. And a lot of the people that I was around, like an Oprah or an Obama or a Hill Harper, those are individuals I was able to look up and see powerful African-American individuals in different industries that were making a way for themselves. And so I knew that if I can meet this person, I can touch this person. It's not just me looking at someone on TV.
Right.
Then that's something that I could actually achieve and accomplish. And actually, Hill
Something that
Harper
was
was
attainable to you.
Absolutely. The attainability, I think, is something that's key. I believe that most people don't think that, they can attain something. And so a lot of the time they never try. And so I remember talking to Hill Harper. Hill Harper actually, he has an MBA and a JD from Harvard University. And I met him after a taping of the Oprah show that was featured on mentoring. And so he essentially guided me and was able to tell me how he went through the actual law school admission process. And I have a JD to this day because of Hill Harper and because of the fact that he attained this high status, but he gave back and he mentored me during that particular process. And so, going through Howard University, going through law school, and then going back in the community and doing work in the social sector, I saw a lot of, what you're trying to do with this show, as far as, seeing a lack of skills, right? Entrepreneurial skills, communication skills, networking, etc. And I wanted to help people to become acquainted with the new knowledge-based economy. Things are completely different than they used to be. And so, right now we're having a conversation, we're having a conversation right now across the country. And so as you see,
it's amazing what technology has really done to America and kind of shaped how we view things now, and how if you want to go out and become an entrepreneur, there's so many vehicles that you can use to really start your personal brand.
And so that's something I wanted to be able to share with not only young people, but working age individuals as well. What are the skill sets that we need in this new era in order to be successful in any field of human endeavor, but especially entrepreneurship or owning your own business? So our organization, Infinite Institute, is a consulting firm, and essentially we're a hybrid between a for-profit and a nonprofit. And our organization focuses on helping individuals, communities, and organizations become prepared and competitive for the new knowledge-based economy. And so one of the things that we talk about, one of the skills that a lot of individuals don't have, whether they're business owners or not, is how to, have some type of digital literacy, right? And so technology it levels the playing field. And so, if I can afford a computer, then I may not need a brick and mortar shop, right? I can actually have a business that's online. I do online transactions. And right now, even with Bitcoin, you don't even have to use regular currency. You can use digital currency in order to interact with customers. And so I think that those of us who know how to market ourselves through and to utilize the digital channels in order to promote ourselves and our businesses, those individuals have a leg up on those who don't. And then the other piece that I'll do.
Ian, let me just stop you right there, because you made a great point. I get calls and emails from entrepreneurs that are kind of the older generation that did not grow up with technology, and so for them, they do have to learn this new skill set, because technology is something that they didn't grow up with. And to us, our generation, I say this generation that grew up, was born with technology and the internet, and saw how the internet has changed and evolved. We take that for granted, that we grew up, we know how to use technology now. And I think it has also shaped the way that we view business, because now we can do business online. We can really become this personal brand that we want to become. But I get emails all the time from the generation that's not really hip to technology. So can you give them just some little bit of tips of how they can use technology to advance their business, or what you've seen from your company?
Okay, so right now the internet is like the Wild West. And we think that things have changed dramatically, but they haven't. And a lot of times we, particularly in the African-American community, minority community, we feel like we're behind the ball a lot of the time. But if you think about social media, really, what was one of the first social media sites?
It was
right?
it was Facebook. Okay, it was Black Planet, and then it was Facebook. Facebook.
Yep. And it evolved. But think about how Black Planet and then MySpace influenced Facebook.
Right.
But the thing is that Black Planet really was a key component of social media before the term social media was even trending. And so I think that a lot of times we don't have the confidence in ourselves that we can be innovators, we can create original ideas and concepts and run with them. Now, from a standpoint of how people can use the internet, or how individuals can use digital resources in order to further their image or their business, a lot of the times people have fear, and it's fear of diving into the unknown. And so as a result, instead of running away from what it is that you fear, which may be technological literacy, just dive into it. And I really promote individuals to do so. I think another thing that's really important that I wanted to mention was the concept of creating content or creative content. And so right now, those individuals online who are creators, only 20% of individuals who are putting content out, original content. And so if you put out content that's helpful to people, that people can utilize, that solves solutions for individuals, then you have a leg up on a lot of other individuals in your particular industry, and you can make a very good name for yourself as well.
Ian, let me just, when we're talking about social media platforms, now you said original content. So that's talking about blogging, because you also are an author and you blog. And I found that Pinterest was actually a good tool. If you're an entrepreneur, you have a blog, you can actually pin your articles onto Pinterest, and it can circulate on Pinterest more than it will circulate on any other social media site. What do you think about that?
I've actually learned about that, and right now it's interesting that you say that, because our team is essentially putting together a Pinterest strategy right now. And so it's interesting that you say that. I believe that it's interesting because the Pinterest platform really allows you to expand, and it's open. And what individuals right now really want to do, you want your website, you want your social media pages, you want all of that to be a hub where you constantly have traffic coming in and coming out. But in order to facilitate that, you have to continue to put out new content. Exactly. And if you don't have new content, then your websites, a lot of your social media platforms and things of that nature, they become stale. And so people don't want to see the same thing over and over again. They want to see new content.
Right.
And so I believe Pinterest is something that if an organization hasn't become savvy in Pinterest, I think it's something that they need to actually get into and become engaged in as well. So I do agree with that. You're right.
And I also find that Pinterest, if you do the research on the social media sites, like I have, Pinterest is more actually female oriented as of right now. And I found that interesting. It's more female oriented and then like Facebook, I find it's more of a generational site as of versus Instagram now. Now, all of the new generation is going more using Instagram, whereas you have the whole generation, I think, is on Facebook and then on Twitter as well. Whereas I see a lot of celebrities, newscasters, the public eye, people that are in the public eye using Twitter more so than I do for social change and to keep their daily activities going. So which site are you seeing that? Because which site do you see is more heavily on female or male oriented or generational oriented?
I think that's interesting because that's a conversation that we have as, for example, new platforms pop up like a Google Plus or like you talked about a Pinterest, etc. I think it's interesting. I think Facebook is more of a local platform that puts you in touch with people locally, family, friends, things of that nature. I think that Instagram is interesting. The one thing I I would say about Instagram is great for being able to visually express yourself. You know, images are a lot more impactful than words are. And I think that's one of the advantages that Instagram has. But I think that the shortcoming of Instagram is the fact that when you post and you actually write comments, that people can't click on links, right? And so Instagram forces you to stay within Instagram and really isn't a hub and doesn't allow you to go other places and search. And I think that's one of the things that Pinterest has over an Instagram. Right. Now, from a professional standpoint regarding what's actually been beneficial for our organization, it's been more so LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been extremely helpful for us, primarily, I think, because we do a lot of business to business sales. And so I think that's, you know, beneficial for us to go straight to our sources, to look in LinkedIn and to go to different groups that are specific to our niche and what it is that we do, and not just shooting out a bunch of advertising promotions to a wide audience. We try to find a niche and then cater to our niche in order to make sure that we are successful with our advertising.
I totally agree. LinkedIn, I mean, I have connected. Some of the best people that I've met for the show have come from LinkedIn. And now LinkedIn also has a platform where you can create articles. You can start your own blog on LinkedIn. So it's definitely a site that is working. And you can post your resume. It's if you want a digital profile with your resume, that is an excellent site to go on, LinkedIn. So thank you so much for bringing that up. So I just want to just ask you, so you are, you know, a variety, you wear a variety of hats. You're an entrepreneur, an author, a social entrepreneur, a public speaker. So can you give our audience some tips on how to get into some of these fields? I mean, nowadays you can be so many things, and you shouldn't just focus on just one vehicle. And so, can you give us some tips on how to get into social entrepreneurship and becoming an author? Because you also started your publishing company. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
So that's an interesting concept. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, I first started out with a publishing company. It was around the time that the publishing industry was really changing, and the traditional publishing companies were really being overrun with a lot of digital publishers and smaller publishers. Amazon really came along and completely changed the landscape, and you know, took out the publishing companies and went directly to the authors. And I think that was something that was really powerful. For myself, I thought that starting my own organization and pushing out my publications through my own organization seemed to be a lot more beneficial, from not only from a monetary standpoint, but from a creative standpoint. A lot of young people who, you know, or even older individuals that aspire to be an author don't understand the concept. And so a lot of the times they think about the prestige of being picked up by a larger publishing company, but they don't really understand that when you do so, you don't have any creative control over the interior of your content. If the publisher asks you to take something out, you may have to take it out. You don't have any creative control over the title of your book or the cover of your book as well. And so from that particular standpoint, it just depends on how much as an author you really value, you really want what your message is to be untainted. And so from that particular standpoint, I felt like going the route of pushing my own content through my own publishing company was the best for me. Now, if you're an author and you feel like, you know, you don't think that you'll push out any more books, maybe this is the only one. Maybe it may be beneficial for you to just go through a publisher. But also, on average, authors going to larger publishing companies may only get 7 to 10% on every book that they sell. And so that's a lot of hard work that you put in that you may not be able to actually get back. And so that concept just, you know, introduced me to starting a business. You know, LLC was the first organization we put together. You know, really going through micro entrepreneurial programs, which I recommend, Catholic Charities is one of the organizations that does these micro entrepreneurship courses, and I recommend if individuals can get into those, that would be good. Another thing that I've been through that a lot of people aren't aware of is Lean Launchpad. So Lean Launchpad, entrepreneurial accelerator, in a process that requires an individual to lay out their concept for their business or their product or service, and essentially interview people in their customer segment or in their market and do 10 interviews a week. And at the end of the 10 weeks, you have 100 interviews that you've done with 100 different people. You have real comments and feedback, as opposed to creating a 3-year plan, a business plan and projections, and then investing all this money into a concept, and then 2-3 years later finding out that it didn't work because you acted off of what you thought was going to be successful, as opposed to going out and really finding out what people want. And so I think those are some ideas and some concepts that people can really hold on to. The other piece that I would really recommend is for individuals to find out what it is that they like, and to go after what your passions are, and to really dive in deep inside your own psyche and really find out, well, when I was younger and I was a child, what were the things that I enjoyed? What could I sit there and do all day and it's not work? And then take what it is that you like, and then look around the world, look on media, look online, and then see what areas are projected to have high growth, right? So when I was younger, I would play with Legos, I would play with Mindstorms and create robots, etc. And so I had a natural love for putting things together and working with my hands and working with electronics, etc. And so now you see that drone technology is something that is, taking over the country. You see companies like Amazon, DHL, Northwest Mutual, a number of organizations that are now investing billions of dollars into drone technology. And so that was a natural fit for our organization to branch out into drone education and technology as well. And so a lot of times, it's not about the money, it's about finding out what it is that you love. And then over time, you'll figure out a way to monetize what it is that you love to do.
I think those are excellent points. So what about your mentoring experience? If you were with a young professional right now and you were to tell them, these are the communication skills, this is the image, and this is the lifestyle tips that I have for you, what would you tell them?
So that's a great question. And our organization, the foundation, the core of our organization is 8 non-cognitive principles that we recommend for all ages. It's the core and the spine of our curriculum, all the way from early childhood through workforce development. And the difference between cognitive skills and non-cognitive skills is that cognitive skills primarily focus on IQ, grades, test scores, things that are measurable, while non-cognitive skills focus on intangible concepts like persistence or fearlessness, etc. And so primarily, we've done research and looked all the way from Socrates to Michael Jordan and looked what is among individuals in every field of human endeavor. And what we came up with was the Infinite 8, or these 8 non-cognitive skills. Mm-hmm. The first is self-discipline. Mm-hmm. Self-discipline meaning doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, regardless of whether you feel like it or not. It's the core component and the cornerstone of the 8. You cannot be successful in any field if you cannot be disciplined. Self-responsibility is the next. A lot of times, individuals, especially those who have come from battered or abused or broken backgrounds, make excuses for why they ended up in the situation that they're in. And they blame their mother, they blame their schools that they went to, they blame their childhood, etc. And so self-responsibility is really taking responsibility for your own actions and your own destiny, but also being responsible for your relationships that you created. You are the center of a wheel, and then your relationships are spokes that extend out from that wheel. And in order to have a strong wheel, you have to have strong spokes. And every relationship that is toxic or that is broken weakens your wheel and essentially makes it so that it's harder for you or less efficient for you to get from point A to point B, utilizing that wheel, which is your network, right?
Right.
And
well, let me just stop you there, and you're making excellent points, and I want to continue. But I just posted on my Facebook page how I said that we really need to start investing in our family and our friends like we do celebrities. And because our relationships and the people that are in our inner circle really reflect our which is our network, and will definitely reflect our net worth. Because the people that you hang around that are in your inner circle are a reflection of you.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times from crowdfunding, right, things of that nature, we've had to pull from our own network and people who are close to us in order to actually make that happen. I think a lot of times, particularly, in the African-American community where, in the 20s and 30s, where you had deep segregation and our communities were forced to work together and to pull their resources together and to support one another because they had no choice. I think that that's something that we should go back to in order to not only support our own, but in order to really support ourselves. Because
right, economic empowerment is the heart of really growing as a community, growing. Where you're going is the economic empowerment.
And a lot of times, individuals make arguments that going forward is really not an economic issue. But at the heart and core of everything that you do, they say money makes the world go round, right? So in order really to create things, in order to ensure that you can pull people from your circle and pull them in to help you, you want to be able to compensate those individuals. You want to be able to provide resources and not ask anybody when you want to make a decision or you want to make a move. And so because of our lack of resources in the past, we've really been, pigeonholed in regards to what we could do. But the concept of what we're focusing on now, social impact financing, and really helping organizations, grassroots organizations, all the way up to mid-sized organizations, those that are traditionally left out, from a lot of fundraising, et cetera. We want to empower those organizations. We want to bring investors and philanthropic organizations and the private sector together to really help these individuals and these organizations to be able to prosper and to do so in a way that's quick and efficient and in a way that is modern and in touch with the new digital economy.
Mm-hmm. And let's go on to your next, sorry, I got you kind of off gear there, but so, let's go on to your next principle, which is persistence.
Yep. So persistence. Mm-hmm. Persistence is an interesting concept because there's a thing called the law of large numbers, which essentially states that if you shoot at enough baskets, enough times, eventually something's going to go in. And so as an entrepreneur or in any profession, you always want to persist. The concept of 10,000 hours, right, in order to actually master something. And so really just sticking it out is the majority. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure you know that first year is extremely, extremely hard. But if you get past those first couple of years, then things will start to level out. People will understand that you're not a joke. They'll be able to see that, wow, this person is really sticking it out and they're really about what it is they're saying about. And so persistence. Go ahead.
I just want to say that when we talked about LinkedIn, so on LinkedIn, I have my resume. I have all of my professional profile, right? That's my professional profile. And I just celebrated 2 years at the Tabia Pope Show. Now, I just uploaded, this is my 4th episode, but I've been working on the Tabia Pope Show for 2 years. And I want entrepreneurs to know that persistence is key. If this is something, if you have this idea, if you have a business, do not let anybody tell you that you cannot do something, you cannot use your resources, because it really is up to you to continue to go. And if you're on the go and you continue to do it over and over and over, see, success is not just a straight line. Okay, you're going to go through obstacles, you're going to go through hurdles. People are going to tell you, no, you can't do this. But I found that if you continue to go, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you. So you just have to have that persistence. That's a key principle right there, persistence.
And that's interesting because that really goes into our next principle of fearlessness. And you really have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur.
Yes,
really
you do.
Have to be crazy to have this idea, this concept that you don't know whether or not it's going to work. You don't know whether or not people will support you, whether they're going to laugh at you or not. But at some point, you have to skydive. You can't hide all your ideas and your concepts in the shell. We talk about digital literacy and really creative content being at the core component of that marketing. No longer can you steal your ideas and concepts. No longer can you have this idea to invent this phenomenal invention and then never do it and then expect for people to just run to your door and to ask you for it. You have to put your ideas and your concepts out there, because in reality, most individuals are scared and are fearful, and they admire other individuals that can take the fortitude and can have that that aggressiveness. Right. And
that tenacity. I just wanted to say, with the persistence and the fearlessness, if there's something that scares you, if your dream is scares you out of your mind, and then we go back to feeling crazy, that's actually what you should be doing. If your dream is so big that you're like, woo, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But I say it really has to go back to your faith, and you have to have faith that everything is going to work out. You cannot be an entrepreneur and not have faith.
Absolutely.
You can't do it. You can't. You have to go to church. You have to be around good people. You have to get all that baggage out of your life, and you have to say, I'm going to do it. This scares me. I'm crazy. People say I'm crazy, but they're going to ask me. They're first going to ask you, like, okay, she's doing this or whatever. But then when you make it, they're going to like, well, how did you do it? But I thought you didn't care.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and like you said, that goes into the next concept also of excellence. And so in order to be excellent, in order to be able to produce a consistent amount of work at a consistent level of quality, you have to have some type of psychological stability in order to do so. As an entrepreneur, and you're working 70 hours, 80 hours a week, around the clock, because you are your entire business when you're first starting out. And so in order to do so, one of the things that I personally do, and individuals in our organization, is we meditate, right? And so at the beginning of every morning, in the evening, throughout the day, we'll take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to meditate, to calm ourselves in the midst of all the calamity or the storm that may be circling around us, in order to find out and to discover what it is that's most important, what should we be focusing on, and to really listen to our inner selves in order to ensure that we don't go crazy while we're out here doing.
And you have purpose, and your purpose, and your goals, because there's different forms of meditation. There, what you just mentioned. But for me, I also write down my goals, my objectives, and my long-term goals, my short-term goals. And you have to do that, and it really makes me feel good, because I'm able to visualize and see the goals that I have coming up, what's important, what's not important, especially if I'm married. So there are things that I want to do that I may have to put on the back burner for a minute. Not saying that I can't do it, but you have to also realize what is important in your life and where you're going, and kind of have to juggle the two. I know that some entrepreneurs, they stay up all night. And that's their best time where they can hash out all their ideas. Some people are early, get up early in the morning, and that they find their moment of clarity in the morning. So it's really going back to what works for you. Is, am I a early morning riser? Do I need morning mantras to get me going? Do I need to stay up all night and, manage my time that way? So it really goes back to how you manage your time. And there's no one, not allowing anybody to tell you that you can't do it.
Absolutely. I think that's an interesting point that you touched upon, especially considering that I've tried a number of different tactics. When you're working for someone else and you're trying to start a business, I think that you have to stay up late, in order to put in that same amount of time for yourself that you're putting in for someone else. That's the only way that you're going to make sure that you consistently progress as well. But when you are able to support yourself and you are able to actually become a full-time entrepreneur for your own business, I found that you don't always have to stay up late, and you can really focus your time. And all of it is about, maximizing your time. And like you talked about, ideating and putting your concept together, that goes with our other concept of foresight. And so for us, we really want to visualize where it is that we want to be. And you really have to look at and think about your future self. A lot of times we only think about our present self, what I want now, what I feel. I don't feel like doing this. It's going to be too hard, etc. But a lot of times you have to visualize, well, what if I am living in that house that I always wanted? What if I am having this phenomenal business where I can go to work and do what I love every single day? And we have to visualize ourselves being in that position and really try to engage with ourselves in our own subconscious in order to see what that feels like. And I think if you can visualize that, then and actually go through and put the steps every single day, and take those steps and put in the time that's necessary in order to actualize that, then it will happen. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, but you have to be able to visualize. And when you visualize and you add that with putting in the actual work, then what you visualize will crystallize and it will manifest in the universe. The other concept that we talked about is, which I'm sure you've actually dealt with that as well as an entrepreneur, is character. I think character, who you are, what you're actually made of, what people say about you, the type of memory and the type of taste that you leave in people's mouths whenever you have any type of interactions with individuals.
Your first impression.
Absolutely.
We talk about an image is the first impressions that you have, the lasting impressions, all those that is image, and that is character building and character re-imaging.
Especially for like right now, the job market is really, really tough for individuals who are working. And it's really, business is about relationships. Business is all about relationships. People have to like you in order to break bread with you. People have to like you in order to
trust you.
Yeah, what it is that you have to offer. And so it's really about your relationships with individuals. And in order to sustain those relationships, you have to follow through. When you say you're going to follow through, you have to show up when you say you're going to show up. And if you do that over the years, your reputation will precede you. And no longer do you have to walk into a room and explain, that you're about what you say you're about. Your reputation will precede you in that particular aspect. And then the last
and that is your personal brand. If you have done that successfully, that is what we call authentic personal branding. It's because people can identify with who you are, what you have to offer. They will recommend you. And that is how your business grows. And you can, when we talk about burning bridges, and not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone is going to think that you're valuable, but it is your job to not let those naysayers or dream blockers or whoever out there deter you from your dream, because there's going to be someone out there that believes in you and that wants your product, that wants to be around you. And you just have to find those people. So that goes back to evaluating who is around you, because if you have these people around you that are saying, you can't do it, I don't like you, or they're silently hating on you and stabbing you in the back, and you go for it every time, then it really is up to you.
Definitely. I definitely agree with you. I think your character also is a reflection of those individuals who are around you. why would you subject yourself to people who are constantly putting down your ideas, or anytime that you're positive, you know, they're throwing negative energy your way? I mean, those aren't the type of people that you want. Also, I think from a character perspective, I think adding social media into the mix, I think is huge. I think a lot of people, especially those individuals who are entrepreneurial, think that likes are associated with the success of your brand or your particular.
I'm so happy you said that. I'm so happy you said that.
And it's so not true.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times you'll see individuals who go on social media and they have an original idea or original concept, but because they see where the crowd is going, because maybe they think that sex sells and they have to go in that direction in order to actually be successful, I think that that's something that's completely not true. And also, if you look at the statistics concerning, you know, how many individuals from Instagram actually go and purchase your products or actually visit your webpage, I'll see that you'll find that it's not even really worth your time in order to completely change your behavior in order to, you know, please a certain demographic.
Oh, Ian, that is an excellent point. I always say I want supporters, not followers, okay? I want people that truly would go to the hub of my brand, which is my website. And we have to kind of switch our thinking as entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs that are just getting into the business and see that there's social media and that, oh, I need all these likes to be successful. No, what you need is a marketing plan. MailChimp is a good source. Using emails and collecting emails and converting emails into business, and that's more so on your website. That is the hub of your brand. You want people to come to your website and see all of the services that you have to offer. Now you're going on social media, they're only getting a part of you, a part of your brand when you're on social media. When I feel like I'm on social media, I'm like doing all of this and it's not a cohesive unit. Whereas your website is cohesive, you control, you own you own your product, your copyright, all of your information. That is the hub. You have to be very careful what you put out on social media, because what we've seen that, you know, someone can sell your images and you not even get a dime from it.
I heard about that. No, I mean, you're completely right. I think really what it boils down to is work. I mean, you have to work hard and you have to produce and you have to create. And if all you're doing on social media is taking selfies all day, then after you walk away from your phone, what do you have to look at? And I think that's the main component, is that a lot of times we get so sucked up into social media and we think that this platform is reality when in fact it's not. I mean, you have to turn around and put down that screen and you have to face yourself in the mirror. And you have to really look at yourself and dive deep and say, well, am I really doing and putting in the amount of work that is necessary for me to really be where I want to be? And that goes into our last concept of humility. You have to be extremely humble in the 21st century.
Yes.
You have to be a lifelong learner. You have to be willing and open to listen to any and everyone. I always tell individuals about a story where I walked into a coffee shop and I was sitting down and I was working on my second book. And this homeless man came in the coffee shop and asked to sit down next to me. Now, if I had not been humble, I would have told him, no, maybe you smell, maybe you might say something, maybe you might ask me for something. But I was humble enough to have this man actually sit down next to me. And we had some of the most phenomenal conversations over the next few days that I've ever had with anyone else. And I was so inspired to the point to where I dedicated an entire chapter in my new book after this particular character. And so you never know who it is that is being sent into your life.
Right. Or your blessing, because that person can be a blessing to you, or they could be a lesson.
Absolutely. And you can learn a lot of lessons. And I think that now, because individuals aren't willing to be humble and to go figure out how to use technology, how to learn how to use or build a new website, etc. I think that that's what's holding a lot of individuals back. right now, in order to create a website, it's cheaper and easier than it's ever been. And if you don't have a website, you know, in 2015, that's just unheard of. And so I think that individuals should go even further than that. Like, for example, for one of our crowdfunding campaigns, I had to learn short coding, right, in order to build a website from scratch, because at the time we didn't have the capital to hire somebody out. And at the same time, from a customization standpoint, I can create exactly what it is that I want. I don't have to call a programmer or a web developer in order to do it. If something happens, if Tabia, you called me today and you said, hey, Ian, did you know there's a typo on your website? I can go in and I can change that immediately without having to wait 2 or 3 days for my web developer or my IT technician in order to open up their schedule.
Making sure that it's manageable to the entrepreneur, and that you're able also to control your brand as well.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I think that controlling your brand is huge, and with that in mind, I wouldn't outsource too many of your marketing or your branding jobs. I think that a lot of times you can do that, but I think that from the outset as an entrepreneur, I think it's important to know how to do a lot of different things, so that when you're working with people later, people don't get over on you, or people don't look down on you because they're like, well, I have 35 years of experience doing X, Y, or Z. But you're like, well, I know how to do this as well. And so you can work with people and you can build a lot stronger relationships because you have a minimal level of competency in these
or even if you do hire a web developer, actually making sure that you maybe have a session with that web developer and have them explain how to use your website, so you don't always have to call them. You're taking the initiative to kind of put that work in, that you don't have to always be dependent on someone else. You also, let's just go back to social media. I also said that, for social media, I'm a person that likes a power shot. And there's some females that would rather a butt shot, and that also goes back to your Instagram and your social media, and it's how you project yourself. And if you're looking to be an entrepreneur and someone goes to your Instagram, even males, for example, putting money out there, or putting things that just shouldn't be out there, you have to constantly manage your brand. If you want to say you're an entrepreneur, you say you want to be a business-minded individual, then your page should reflect your business. It shouldn't reflect all of this, what you do day to day, because that really doesn't build your brand. It should be business oriented. If that's who you say you are, then that's what you need to project. So, Ian, thank you so much. I mean, I love your business, and you're very business minded. I think that you're a great role model and a great mentor as well. And so we've come a long way. I would say come a long way, and I'm so excited to go into this new venture of my show. And I thank you so much for being my guest on the Tabia Pope Show. Do you have any last tips before we wrap up our interview?
The last thing I would say is right now is probably the most opportune time in history for individuals to be able to make some type of living for themselves. The new digital age is something that's wide open. It's the Wild West. A lot of individuals or a lot of companies or whoever that we may look up to, they're all shooting in the dark, because no one knows what's going to work. No one knows what the future holds. And so you have, as an individual, just as good of a chance to come up with the next iPhone, or to come up with the next Uber, or whatever may have you. And so I think that it's extremely important for individuals to become engaged, to not run away from technology and all the opportunities that it affords us. And so I thank you, Tabia, for your show. I thank you for what it is that you're doing in order to essentially bring some of these ideas and these concepts to light, and to a level to where individuals can understand and readily access and utilize them. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And please email me at media@tabiapopeshow.com. And you can find me on social media at Tabia Pope Show. Until next time, thank you and have a good evening.
All right, bye.